Okay, perfect. Hi, everyone. Just like Gary wonderfully introduced me, my name is Grace. I'm the Program and Events Manager for the Global Human Development Program at Georgetown University. Just a little bit about what I do is I handle the day-to-day for the program. I organize a lot of these admissions events. I'm happy to talk about the program in any shape or form. So I'm pretty much the first face that you'll see if you're thinking about applying to our program. I also was a VSFS intern, as I was talking to Gary before. But since it is a smaller group, I'm happy to run through just a presentation, and feel free to jump in with questions whenever you have, and we'll just go from there. So just give me a second to share my screen. All right, can everyone see that? Okay. I see thumbs up and nodding heads. So quickly, just to run through a brief overview of our program, it is a 2-year full-time master's program. So unfortunately, we do not permit any part-time students, and it is a 2-year program. So this is a brief overview of some fast facts. It's within the School of Foreign Service, which is the #1 international relations school in the country, according to Foreign Affairs. But it is, as we go through this presentation, I really want to talk a bit more about what, sets GHD apart from not only the other programs in SFS, but other global development programs in the country. So here are just a couple of photos that we have pre-pandemic, and, obviously we'll have some post-pandemic. But here I just wanted to list out our GHD values. And before we dive into the rest of this presentation, I kind of want to ground us in these values because they really do sort of drive the direction where GHD wants to take its program. So you'll see a lot of our initiatives even in the curriculum. You'll see a lot of these values sort of embedded into that. And like I said, it sort of explains why we do what we do, and it's very goal oriented. So it's not only things that we think we do well, but it's a lot of things that we think we want to do better and what we aspire to be as a program. So here is an overview of the curriculum. So you will, in your first semester of your first year, it'll be core classes. So, you can see the core classes here on the screen in this chart. One thing that I want to point out here is in your second year, you're going to see a class, GHD P 598 and 599. That is a capstone class, management analysis and practice. So in lieu of a master's thesis or a exam, we do a capstone presentation and a project throughout your entire second year of your class. Another thing to note about our curriculum is that it's very practitioner based. And so we find it very important that while we do want to teach you theory of development and international relations, we also want to equip all of our students with the necessary skills to seek employment outside and after their GHD experience. One very exciting update that I have about our curriculum is we are now requiring an additional STEM approved course. It's a very long list of courses in even different colleges that will be in addition to your core class curriculum. That being said, because we are requiring this additional class, I'm excited to announce that GHD is officially STEM certified. So this is something that's very important to our international students, but it's also really exciting for all of our students all around because it really does show how much of a practitioner-based program we are and how we really want to equip you with hard skills and not just soft skills. Another thing that'll be a requirement in this program is we'll require a specialization and a certificate. The difference between the two is a specialization is housed within the GHD program, and you can even create your own specialization. A certificate is housed in different departments at the university. So for example, the Asian Studies program, the African Studies program. So those are a bit more strict in terms of what classes you can take because they are not under GHD, whereas a specialization, is a bit more flexible with us. That being said, both opportunities are really great to put on your resume because they kind of give you a narrow thematic regional focus to this broad topic of global development. Another requirement is sort of this language component. So every student in SFS, so not just GHD, is required to take a language proficiency exam in a language that is other than their first language. So we provide language scholarships in our program to allow you to get to that proficiency level in a different language. What that means is the university will provide you free undergraduate courses in addition to your course load. So that would be on top of the 4 classes that you would take each semester in order to help you get to that proficiency exam level. So each department is a little bit different in terms of what their requirements are. But another thing to note is that if there's a language you want to learn new and, Georgetown doesn't really offer it as a language, we do have a partnership with Johns Hopkins SAIS to offer a bit more of South and East Asian courses to help you with your proficiency level. So another really interesting thing about our program and what I would say kind of sets us apart is the practitioner focus and how much emphasis we have on that component of our program. So all of our majority of our GHD faculty members are full-time practitioners. In addition to having a full-time job, they do teach with us on in addition to their obviously their full-time job as well. So that is really a great opportunity to tap into that that network, but also talking to people who are in the field at the moment so they can give a better perspective on what the direction of global development is going. Another component of this is the 2 required internships that we have. One of them is a summer internship. That requirement is between your first and second year of the program. We require students to go abroad into a developing country working with a development organization. We provide funding for the flights to that country, but also provide a separate stipend for living expenses, cost of living, housing, etc. Those stipends are determined each year based on inflation, obviously, and how much would be necessary to fund that travel. So I don't have an exact number, but that is a very exciting component of our program. We are one of the only programs in SFS that requires summer travel. So it's a really great opportunity to actually experience development in action on the ground. The second internship is a DC internship. DC kind of in quotes because, now because of COVID, a lot of internships can take place via Zoom. So just as long as you're working with a developing organization, even if it may be abroad, it could still particularly fulfill the requirements of this DC internship. This would happen during, the academic year on top of your course load, and it would be part-time. And then lastly, I kind of alluded to this during the curriculum slide, is the capstone project. A little bit more about that. It's kind of a consulting project. You're going to get paired up in that class and you work with a developing organization on a project. You'll have an agreement with them. So it's really good experience working with people that work in the field. And it's another really great opportunity to put on your resume, and it is a wonderful experience. And some students really are able to network and potentially receive employment opportunities after. So how does this all fit in with career preparation? Our second years right now are thinking about this a lot. One thing I do want to point out on this slide is sort of that pie chart right there. You can see that each sector and each piece of the pie is relatively equal. And why our program thinks that this is very important is because it really shows that our program is able to help and also, take on students with very different backgrounds. We have students that come from the private sector and then they leave wanting to go into the nonprofit sector, right? So there is a very even balance. Of course, this may change from year to year, but generally we've seen a trend where students kind of just go out and it's pretty even. So we want to provide you with the tools necessary to be in any of those sectors and help you with whatever you may be interested in. So here's a little bit about our community. A couple of things to know on this slide is that something that we take very seriously is being able to reflect a more accurate picture of what the development field looks like. And because the development field is becoming increasingly diverse, that is reflected within our student population. And we find, you know, being able to interact with other students in different backgrounds is incredibly important, especially as that'll become way more relevant after graduation of the program and the people that you will interact with in the field. Couple things to note about our student body. Again, something that's unique about our program is that we are a small program. So our program, each cohort is about 30 students. It's give or take. We find that this has worked really well for us because it means that students are able to connect very closely, but also make meaningful and strong connections. But it also means that our staff and faculty are able to work with all of our students and really get to know them. Our director, Steve Radelet, is very involved with the students and is able to meet with them one-on-one. And a lot of those opportunities are because we are a small program. Something else to note is the ethics retreat. This is sort of a marquee event for us. It happens in your first semester of your first year here at GHD. And what we do at this ethics retreat is, we sit down and we talk about, ethical issues in development. And, not only do we talk about them, we try and equip all of our students for, not if they run into ethical issues in their field, but when, because we all know that it's inevitable and there's a lot of, topics of conversation in terms of ethics and development. And so this is a really wonderful way to not only connect with your fellow classmates, but also to have deep and meaningful conversations with them about why they're in the development field. And then lastly, we have a ton of workshops. We even have one today. Our deputy director, Erwin Tiongson, is a master at developing these workshops. These are in addition to sort of the curriculum. They're optional, they're not required, but we find that these are really important for our students because they're great opportunities for them to learn more skills, especially hard skills on top of, whatever we teach them in your curriculum. So an example would be we have workshops on Tableau, SQL, negotiations theory, grant writing, proposal writing. So these are all skills that we feel like you would need in the development field, and it's a great opportunity and sort of a non-committal way to spend maybe 2 hours of your day at these workshops and learn a new skill. And lastly, we have a lot of student opportunities to get involved into the program. So we have the Student Assistance for Social Justice. We are currently on our third iteration of this program. It is a paid student position where we we accept students to join our staff meetings and talk about where can our program go in terms of social justice. So they are very instrumental in helping us plan these ethics retreats, and any other retreats that we host in our program, but also tapping into the student body and letting us know what is deeply affecting them and what is most important to our student body in terms of social justice. On top of that, we have student reps and also reps on a SFS grader level and even on a university-wide level, in addition to a couple of development-focused organizations. So after, saying all of this, I want to talk a bit about how to apply to the program and just quickly go through some requirements. But I also want to leave enough time for questions. So our priority deadline for this coming fall has closed. The deadline's January 15th. You still have time to apply. However, if you apply now, you won't receive any merit aid as our priority deadline for scholarship consideration is January 15th. So if you are looking to apply and you need scholarship and aid, you should probably wait until the next cycle, which is next year, January 15th. Couple things about the application. It's an online application. We require a personal statement, and I kind of want to pause and talk about this a little bit more. We want to make sure that you're not using this section of the application as a box checking activity. We really, really do read your personal statements, and sometimes it's what kind of makes or breaks your application. So we want you to take a lot of care and, maybe even have a loved one read over that application and your personal statement. We want to know why you're interested in development and, what can this program do for you? And not only if you're a good fit for this program, but even if this program is a good fit for you, because we all know that everyone in our program may be at different stages in their career. So this is a really great opportunity to shine in your application. Like I said, we read them very carefully. We require a resume, no format required. There's no specific format. About test scores. So we are a test optional program. So you are not required to take the GRE, the GMAT. That being said, if there is a portion of your application that you feel is not as strong, for example, let's say you have a low GPA, this is where I may recommend submitting a GRE, a GMAT score, because that will offset that other quantitative aspect of your application. So we require an unofficial transcript at the time of application, but if you were to be admitted into the program and attend, that's where we'll require a official one. Another thing to note about this little section right here is that we do have 3 prerequisites for the program, and that's a microeconomics, and a statistics course. If you don't have that right now, don't worry, you can definitely try and take those courses if you were admitted into the program the summer before you attend the program. We think that these courses are very essential to our program because we do have an emphasis also on economics and statistics. If you're not great at those things, that's okay. I'm not either. So but this is something that's important and you will run into during our program, which is why they're prerequisites. So we can talk more about those prereqs and how you might be able to achieve them if you're interested or have any questions about that. And lastly, we have 3 letters of recommendation. So this should be the last slide, but we do know that finances may be top of mind for anyone who's applying to a grad program. So grad school is expensive and Georgetown is expensive. So I do want to talk about this and not glaze over it. The first thing is that GHD does provide some merit-based scholarships. So it is rare that we offer, full rides or full tuition scholarships, but we do offer partial merit-based scholarships. And if you apply by January 15th, you're automatically considered, so there's no additional application there. A second thing is that their SFS offers a McHenry Fellowship. So the fellowship is for students who have a commitment to global public service. GHD is actually known to have a good amount of students that are McHenry Fellows. I think it's because the mission of the McHenry Fellowship aligns very closely to our program. So right now we have 3 McHenry Fellows out of the, and each year there's about 5. So that's a really great way. It's a full tuition scholarship. It also covers any mandatory fees and health insurance. And lastly, we have external scholarships. Those are very limited and those deadlines may be a little different than GHDs. So plan accordingly if you are applying to those. And lastly, if you're a US citizen, you can apply for federal loans. All that being said is I do want to emphasize that grad school is an investment in your career and in your future. So our program does emphasize that, being able to fund your degree is your responsibility, and we can provide you resources such as, what external scholarships to apply for and what those options look like. But at the end of the day, financing your degree is in fact your responsibility. Because we do have very limited merit-based scholarships and we don't offer financial-based scholarships. So I'm going to stop my screen share now and sort of just open it up to any questions that you may have. I know we may be cutting a little close to time, but I did want to make sure I wanted to answer any basic questions that you have about our program.
No, I mean, I usually like to ask questions at the end of things like this, but I think that was pretty comprehensive. I don't really have any questions. And I know this is recorded, right? So yeah, is that just going to be like emailed out, or is it going to be sent in like a chat?
What I will do is I will send the recording Once I upload it, I'll send it to Marcy, and then I'll have Marcy send it out to um, the broader group of interns, because I think I have most of them, but I don't have all of them, and I know she could just send it out in a blast and everyone gets it. So
Okay, great.
yeah.
Thank you.
No, this is Grace. This is awesome. The one thing I don't know if you talked about. Are there opportunities for students if they're in Georgetown to visit with the school to kind of get a feel for it, or do campus tours to see if the program works for them?
Yeah, absolutely. So we do host in-person admission sessions, and the in-person admission sessions, those dates will be released sometime during the fall, a little bit closer to like the application deadline, but enough time for you to make those accommodations to come out if you'd like. That includes a brief admission session that would probably be very similar to what I said today, but in addition, the opportunity to sit in on an actual GHD class, which will likely be one of those courses. So it'll be very similar to what those courses look like. Something that I do offer any prospective students or anyone that's interested is the chance to talk to some of our current students. And if you go to our website, we have all of our current students and their bios, which should be updated with their backgrounds, their career paths and their interests. If you find a student that, regardless of what their background is, that you find interesting and want to speak more to, I'm more than happy to connect you with them. Our students are very readily and happily able to talk to prospective students. Um, like I said, they'll bring a very fresh perspective of what's it like being a full-time master's student, but also being a student in our program that I can't give because I'm a staff member. So I think the most reliable source that I can give you to talk about, the nitty-gritty of our program would be our current students, and they're happy to do that.
Any other questions for Grace? I don't want to. I know it's Friday and it's a rainy Friday in DC. It's nice. The weather's warm, but it's rainy. But any other questions for Grace? Grace, I thank you so much. I may actually have you come back through at least one more time, just to do a Q&A session, and you won't have to do another full presentation. But I know once people see the video, they may be like, oh, I wish we would have asked this question. And so we'll give them an opportunity to ask the questions. So
Yeah, I would love to do that. And Gary, you are more than welcome to distribute my email if anyone has any specific questions. It'll just go directly to me instead of our generic GHD inbox. So I'll definitely see it. But yes, feel free to reach out and happy to meet with anyone one-on-one if they would like. But yes, I'm very excited. We just sent out acceptances for our class of 2025 now. And so now I'm already thinking about the next one. So
excellent. Hey, thank you so much.
Subscribe, but like below.